It was All Hallows Eve, Halloween. Black clouds boiled up and sailed past the moon. Lightning flashed, thunder roared, the rain beat down, shaking the windows in the great hall of the Earl of March. And where was the young daughter of the Earl as the clock in the hall struck midnight? Was she upstairs, safe and warm in her chamber? No. Young Janet was out in the storm, standing in a circle that she had drawn of holy water at the crossroads called Miles Cross. And she stood there in that circle, protected from the storm, like a candle flame inside a lantern is protected by the glass. She was shielded by her faith and by her love. For Janet loved Tamlane, and she was waiting for him. You see, Janet and Tamlane had been the closest of friends from when they were children. And when they were grown up enough, they were promised to be married. But when it came time for the wedding, Tamlane had disappeared. And everyone searched, and his father, Earl Murray, spared no expense, but all trails led to Carter Howe Wood. And there, they disappeared, as if Tamlane himself had vanished from the face of the earth. Now, Janet had been warned not to go to Carter Howe Wood, but she couldn't stay away. She went there almost every day. It was mid-October when she saw a plant with flowers up on the hill there, the fairy hill, that she had been expressly forbidden from going on, but she went, and she picked some of the flowers. When she picked the third flower, suddenly there stood Tamlane right in front of her. Tamlane, oh, how did you get here, and where have you been? He replied, I've been in Elfland. The Queen has made me one of her knights. How did that happen? I came out here to the wood one day. I rode around the hill. I felt so sleepy that I closed my eyes. And when I awoke, I was in Elfland. It's a fine place, and I would stay there, except for you. And one other thing. The Queen has made me her favorite, but I have heard that every 7 years the elves must pay a tithe to the Lord of the Underworld. And even though the Queen dotes on me, I have a very bad feeling that I am meant to be the tithe. Tamlane, isn't there some way that I can help you, save you from her? Well, there is a chance if you have the courage. Here's what you must do. Go to Miles Cross at midnight on All Hallows Eve and draw a circle about you with holy water. The Queen's court goes on her wild ride that night, and all of the elves would ride by you. First brown horses, then black, but finally the milk-white steeds. You will see the Queen, and I'll be riding beside her. But if my visor is down, and you can't recognize me, know me by this sign. I will have a glove on my right hand, but my left hand will be bare. And then he was gone. And so, Janet was at the crossroads at midnight on All Hallows Eve, as the storm raged around her. And then she heard she heard thundering hooves. And with a flash of lightning, she saw brown horses racing right toward her. And when they reached the circle, they split as if it were a huge rock and passed her by. Then came the black horses with eyes like fiery coals pounding down toward her, and also they passed by. Then the white steeds. She could see the elfin queen and the knight beside her with one hand gloved, one hand bare. And she grabbed the bridle of the horse and pulled Tamlane down and held onto him tight. Now he had told her that she must hold him no matter what the elves did, for they would try their magic. And she did. She held him as the elves rode around in a circle screeching, "She's taken Tamlane! She's taken Tamlane!" And they tried their magic. First they made him into a column of ice so cold it almost froze her heart within her. And then a burning flame. Next, he was a snake who tried to turn and bite her, but she held him. And then he was a gentle dove trying to fly. She wanted to let him go, but she held on. And finally, he became a flaming hot iron sword. And this she dropped into the water well that was there. And he became a man again. Then she threw her green cloak over him, and he was hers. The elves backed off, except for the queen, who stood up in the stirrups of her milk-white steed. She looked at Tamlane and she said, "Ah, she who's stolen young Tamlane has gotten a stately groom. She's taken away my bonniest knight, left nothing in his room. But had I known, Tamlane, Tamlane, a lady would come for thee, I'd have taken out thine eyes of gray, put in 2 eyes of tree. If I had known, Tamlane, Tamlane, before we two left home, I'd have taken out your heart of flesh, put in a heart of stone. Had I but had the wit yestereen that I have got today, I'd have paid the fiend 10 times his tea ere you'd been ta'en away." But then she turned and rode away, and Tamlane and young Janet were left free to make their way home.